Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another Indie Game Preservation Initiative interview here with some fine folks from Type 3 Studios. We got Eric, Sean, Jim, and Nick here with us. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Right, Eric.
Eric,
I'll go.
why don't you go first, Eric?
I'm Eric, the programmer and sort of generalist, the guy who glues everything together. And yeah, happy to be here. So thanks for inviting us.
I guess we'll go down the list on the screen
I was
here.
thinking that too.
Yeah. I'm Sean Conlon. I've done a little bit of the audio work. I work in the game's marketing, keeping us a little bit of keeping us legal, accounting, play testing, and you know, uh, just I did some work to kind of get us into the pack space.
Awesome, awesome.
Hi, Jimbo Chansky. All of the character animations, some of the game mechanics, like just how enemies operate, and some of the level designs, but not most of either.
Awesome.
I'm Nick, and I guess I would be, the lead designer or creator. I just came up with the idea for the game. Eric told me to come up with an idea for a game that something he thought that a small team could work on, and I thought side-scrolling platformer would be a good. Seems like something a small team could do, and I also do the level editing, most of it.
Fantastic. So we're here today to talk about a really fun game that I found out about at PAX East, Super Marxist Twins. And of course, the character design, the name, and everything really grabbed me first. And I definitely want to dig into the legal aspect with you, Sean, about this later. But it's a really, really fun game. I played through the demo last week, and it's just super, super fun. But before we dive into the game itself, I would love to hear about how you all got to where you are right now. I was talking to Eric a bit over email before, and how this is a passion project and something that you do when you have time, when you have some free time. So tell me how you started this and how you got to where you are.
I'll kick it off. We've basically just been friends for a long time, and are all into video games, and all like the idea of trying to create things. So um, a ways back, Nick and I worked on some Half-Life 2 mods, or a Half-Life 2 mod.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were kind of into that scene. There was like a few community forums and stuff going on then, and while we had like a pretty cool project going, we had like a really cool intro. Um, there was like technical challenges to getting things just right, and we were probably being like, maybe like I might have been being too perfectionist about things. Like I couldn't kind of get past like some of the little hiccups where you've got your nice brilliant scene playing out, and then like a character spins around in a weird way before they walk away or something like that. It's like that stuff always just bothers you because it looks wrong. But anyway, I think that's partly why, as Nick mentioned, like we kind of decided like what's something that is going to be maybe a little bit easier for like a team our size to execute. And as you mentioned, like this is in our free time because we've all got day jobs. So we're not like spending 8 hours 40 hours a week doing this. So um, yeah, I mean that's pretty much like how I personally got to where I am is I've wanted to make games since I was a kid, and um, in college figured out, like, by way of a logic course, that I could probably do programming. So I changed my major and got a degree doing that, and have been a software developer since then. But basically, all entirely knowing that, like, well, programming is part of games, and I want to make games, so I went that way.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to get into game programming when I started at the university, but I didn't get into that program, so I joined regular programming instead and went down that route. And I've never recovered, unfortunately.
Yeah, there weren't that many game. I was looking for, like, one of those, like, game design programs, and there weren't that many at the time that I was, going into college. So I went to programming, like, just knowing that was part of it, and figuring out I could probably do it, and knowing, like, I could probably support myself, as a backup if I wasn't able to immediately make money, making games in my spare time. So yeah.
Awesome.
Sean, Eric and I go back to about fifth grade when he moved in across the street. Nick and I go back to about high school when Eric, Nick, and I met him in. Eric and I met Nick in freshman year, and then Jimbo and I go back.
Blockbuster Video.
Blockbuster Video. Jimbo worked with me in Blockbuster Video
Kinda dates us a little bit.
in high
it.
school, and Jimbo also, he became friends with us a little bit later in life after the Blockbuster days. So
Long after VHS. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably like right before Blu-ray, I would say.
yeah, I actually have a background in accounting, and a little bit of a background in music. Eric and I both have a background in music. Eric played the bass, I played the drums. So we were like I guess garage musicians for a little while as well. Eric's garage, his actually his bedroom.
Yeah, we're
Poor
just a headless rhythm section.
exactly. Yeah. So and Jonas, I think prior to this interview, you mentioned that you were 6 years old when you started playing video games. I was around that age, about probably 6 or 7. I remember running around the house, screaming my head off with an NES, like holding it up on Christmas Day. So yeah, I've been a lifelong gamer as well, and I think when the first time I saw it was actually Nick and Eric were working on that Half-Life mod. It was called the Battle for Philadelphia, or Battle of Philadelphia, and I was actually pretty impressed with their skills, because first of all, like the attention to detail, like they were walking around Philly snapping photos of buildings and kind of incorporating this into like a futuristic setting. And I was really impressed with Nick. He was doing a lot of work where he was just like manipulating the face to animate to talk, and it was really cool just watching him doing. I was like, it gave me a little inspiration. I was like, man, these guys can do it. So, when they started talking about this concept of super Marxist twins, I really thought about it. I was like, we could probably make this happen, and I mean, when I say we, it's very strongly like, Nick, Eric, Jimbo's got the art skills. I'm more or less like filling in some of the cracks or the gaps there, but like when I say keeping us legal, part of my work was to also kind of like incorporate Type 3 Studios, and just do our the nitty gritty filings with the states and whatnot. So put a little of that accounting background to skill as well, or those skills to work.
Yeah, make it so we're allowed to actually sell things at PAX when we go there.
Yeah.
That's always good. That's always good. Yeah, having someone to help with paperwork is very helpful.
All right, so I've loved video games since I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas. It was like probably 1991 because that's the year it came out. And I got Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. And man, ever since I had played that, video games and their imagery have always been in my imagination. And there would even be instances when I would be like at family picnics and stuff, and I was the oldest, like one of the older cousins, and usually I'd have a lot of my younger cousins would hang out, and I would like throw soccer balls and footballs at them, and I'd give them rules and like make them play like real life human pong or like asteroids. And like the idea of gaming and engaging people has just been like in my blood since I played that game. And when I was in the Blockbuster days that Sean referenced earlier, there was this guy that worked at Blockbuster, and he introduced me to a program called Games Factory. And
Mhm.
that program, it's like this French software that you can use to just like DIY glue game pieces together. Like you can give things speeds and lives and different art. It's got like a pixel animation element inside of it. And so I did that when I was about like maybe 14 or 15. And I've also always drawn my whole life. So when it was time to go to college, I went to SVA. I learned how to illustrate. And then I didn't graduate there. I actually went to Full Sail and learned how to do computer animation, which I've done some work with over the years, but I've actually just had like normal day jobs a lot of the time because I would spend most of my spare time uh, working on my own game dev projects.
Mm.
And I was just kind of like wandering, for years, man. I was like some guy who crashed his plane in the desert, and I'm just wandering by myself in this game dev world. Because I'll tell you what, man, you work on games, it takes everything to pull it off. And the reason why I say crashed a plane in the desert is because I was about done until I met these guys. The guys up there and the guy down there. I met them, and I basically didn't stop working on games because of that, and I feel like I brought something to them, and they also brought a lot to me. I feel like that sums it up. Yeah.
Jimbo,
That's
before you mentioned a plane crashing in the desert, I kind of the words "Pixel Ronin" came to mind.
I'll take it.
Gonna own that
Thanks,
one
man.
now. Got it.
wonderful.
Nick,
I love it. I love it. What about you, Nick?
Thanks, man.
Well, I was a communications and film major in college, and I've always been into video games for a long time. Particularly, I've been a PC gamer since pretty hardcore PC gamer since I think it was 1994. My dad got us a amazing 99 megahertz Pentium 486 with like I think a whopping like 16 megabytes of RAM, something like that. But I've been into gaming ever since then, and I wanted to make movies when I went into college, and I started going back and playing. Half-Life 2 was coming out. I went back and I started playing the original Half-Life, and remember just being amazed at the scripted sequences and how video games were kind of becoming their own medium. Like, normally when you see when story is told through cutscenes, that's not really using video games to tell a story. That's incorporating film into a video game to help tell the story. But I was really blown away with how Valve, told a story with video games. And uh, towards the end of college, I realized, maybe I want to use my, film storytelling skills in a video game, maybe. Because, I don't have any background in game design, but I played so many games and I felt like I had a good enough understanding of the medium that maybe it's something that I could do. So me and Eric, we worked on our Half-Life mod after college for years and years, and it was fun and everything, but it wasn't something that we could really see a career like, um, coming out of. And then Eric just had this idea: what if we do something smaller that, at the time it was just me and him, and he said, let's do something, let's come up with something that the two of us can do, and maybe we'll get some other friends in on it and make like a group project out of it. And so I've just been working on Super Marxist Twins with these guys since then, and teaching substitute teaching in the meantime as a day job.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so I want to dive into the game, but for everyone watching and listening here, we'll play the trailer for Super Marx's Twins before we dive into the game. So that was the trailer for Super Marx's Twins. I love how you incorporated all the old music, old Soviet music here, and the imagery and everything. What really pulled me in when I saw you all at PAX was, of course, the characters, as I mentioned before. I was like, I recognize something here, and then I saw the name. I was like, I recognize something here too. So tell us, how did you start with this specific game, the Super Marxist Twins, and how did it evolve into what it is right now?
Well, Eric told me that I had to come up with something that a small team could work on, and I thought side scroller, but side scrollers are kind of like a dime a dozen, and I thought we had to do something to make ours kind of stand out, something that would hook people in, and I thought, maybe if we added, this wacky Soviet propaganda to it, then maybe we'd have something, really unique that would grab people's attention. And that was kind of it.
Did you ever feel like you might get hunted down by Nintendo for doing this?
Well,
Totally.
since the beginning, I didn't do a whole lot of stuff with like copyright law and actually I didn't really. I mean, we only touched on copyright law a little bit when I was in college, but I remember one thing they talked about is that parody is protected by copyright law, and I always kind of knew we're not making a carbon copy of Mario Brothers.
Oh, that's the
And I
game
knew that
you're referring to. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
Mario, what?
No,
Say something about brothers? I don't know what you guys are talking about.
but it is very intentionally meant to parody and kind of like be somewhat reminiscent of that game, but it's very much its own thing.
I would say in a lot of ways it borrows from lots of different games from that era. Like
Yeah, there's
between
some
8 and 16-bit.
there's some Sonic the Hedgehog and Donkey Kong Country influences in there too.
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it was actually one of the things Eric was making for the game back when we started writing the design doc for it and all was Eric was kind of making a tool for Nick to do a little bit of the level design, right? And it was a level editor. Well, level editors aren't unique. We've seen them in like RPG editors for games and stuff like that. Like they have games based on that. At the time when we started working on it, it was kind of interesting to be able to kind of release, a platforming game, where there would be a level editor. There'd be, and we were talking about putting a community, like attaching a community aspect to it, and allowing people to share and rate these, the levels, etc. And then of course another game recently came out that we're like we're kind of face palming when that happened. But at the same time, I think from a legal aspect, we were kind of saying, okay, well, one, we have this in our design doc, which came out well before, you know, a certain maker was announced. So, from that perspective, just kind of see why, like, making a design doc is almost a way to cover your own butt, CYOA, because with the design doc, you have a timestamp on when you wrote it, what you wanted to make out of the game, and it doesn't. In my mind, it doesn't kind of matter, what's been released, as long as you're not blatantly, stealing property, or claiming that, trying to, like, one, make your property merge with that of another property, right? So what we are trying to do is make our own universe, make our own game, and we're not trying to, essentially, yeah, staple our game to any other game, you know.
Yeah, I had a blast playing through it, and I really think you're doing a fantastic job building up your own world and your own universe here. I was
Thanks, man.
yeah, no, as I was playing it, I was like, this is super fun. And I was reading through parts of the design doc as well, and I was like, yes, you're absolutely right that it's a parody, of course, of Super Mario Brothers and others, and it's also one where the difficulty increases pretty rapidly, I would say. As I was playing the demo, I was like, I'm dying all the time here. But it's because I hadn't learned the mechanics yet. And as I was learning the mechanics, I was like, this is super fun. And it was so fluid when I played through the levels after playing through them a few times. I was like, hey, this is really fun. And I can definitely see people speedrunning this later. Um,
Yeah.
because I think it was the last level gets pretty chaotic. In the demo, the last level in the demo, but gets pretty chaotic, and I had a blast just avoiding everything and trying to run as fast as I could. And I'll be doing this live on stream as well. I'll be playing the demo because I love platformers. Platformers is my favorite genre, hands down. And I had so much fun playing this, and I really love the characters here, Mikhail and Ludmil. Um, just super fun, and the enemies as well, and we'll go into those too. But yeah, I think you're doing a fantastic job just building out your own story here. Um, Before I talk about the story, who wants to talk about the story of Super Marxist Twins? Why are we playing this game? Nick.
Well, the story is meant to be kind of I don't want to say. I mean, there's not a lot to it. It's basically just this evil Tsar Borov has uh, taken over this country and seized all the resources from the people, and the people in quotations, and now the Marxist twins have to get it back and free the country. Pretty simple, straightforward, to the point. I think it's better than you have to rescue some princess out of a castle. It's not that shallow.
So if we go into the protagonists here, we got the two characters, Mikhail. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Maybe someone on the internet can correct me. And Ludmil.
It's all interchangeable.
Yeah. How did you get to these names and these characters, and also their powers? I would love to dive into those.
Well, since it's a Mario parody, I wanted to make an M name and a L name instead of Mario and Luigi, and they'd be Russian instead of Italian. Um, I came up with Mikhail. We kind of went back and forth on Mikhail. That was originally it, and then we switched to Maylor, and then we switched back to Mikhail. I just thought Mikhail was a good name because it's obviously Russian, kind of like how Mario is obviously Italian, and then we didn't know what to come up with for the L name, so we just went through a list of like different Russian names and picked out Ludmil because it sounded funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it still says it in the design doc. I think for one very brief time, Ludmil was like Leon or something like that,
Mm.
which I can't remember. It might still be in the design doc, but he changed quickly and then stayed Ludmil for basically, you know, just about the whole development.
Yeah, and Eric and I have been calling Mikhail Maylor pretty much up until PAX, so we kind of had to train ourselves not to before PAX.
Yeah, they say it, and I like don't even notice it because it's just become so interchangeable.
And they have their powers as well, a hammer and a sickle.
Yes.
Yeah, coming up with an idea for power ups was really tough. I think I had like work gloves in the original design document and work boots and like a whole bunch of other stuff that just didn't work out right. And then one night I just was laying in bed stoned and I just had this idea for hammer and sickle as weapons.
I love it. I love it. And I think it works really well. The with the hammer breaking stones, with the sickle breaking these hay bales and things like that. It works really well, and um, possibility of aiming as well a bit better than in other Mario games, of course, and in many other platforms. Just being able to aim where your projectiles go is very useful.
It didn't originally have that, and Eric added it in during development. And when he did, I was like, "Dude, Mario doesn't do that. What are you
Mhm.
talking about?" And it actually just wound up being like you said, it's like a great feature. It gives the gameplay depth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the really, I want to say, like, great qualities of our project, like at least in the development side, is our leader is constantly improvising new stuff. Like, he threw co-op right before PAX, and I was just like, dude, that feature is like too big. It's risky, and he did it, and it was like the hit in terms of
Right.
all the elements of our paradigm. So
Yeah, we had a little bit of a line going up for the co-op. It was a very ballsy move because
yeah,
it was
it
very
was.
untested, and we were just like, yeah, toss it into PAX. Why not? What could go wrong?
It was in a pretty buggy state too, but luckily, like because we did like a thing that contained the demo to, not messing around a whole lot in the menus and stuff. You're just kind of playing through. It sort of masked it up some, and like it was not full featured. We're actually still working on some of the co-op stuff, getting it all ironed out. But yeah, the core of it was there, and it was really like the important part was like, all right, is this fun? And like Nick and I like tried it in like I think our hotel room when we got there, and we were like, yeah, it's fun. Let's bring an extra controller and we'll show it to people.
Wait, at the hotel room, as you were heading into PAX?
Dude, last minute, man. Last
Holy,
minute.
that's amazing.
Yeah. That's part I feel like that's like the spirit that our team embodies. We're just like,
Yeah.
could it be awesome? Dice roll.
Anti-professional, just like I don't know. Let's try this. Let's do that. I don't know.
There was a point in development where we had brought up the possibility of co-op, and I kind of shot it down because I was really worried when we first started developing the game that if it didn't look and play enough like Mario, then people wouldn't get the parody aspect. And then at some point, I just said, you know what, fuck it, let's start making. I think people get the parody in the name just fine, so let's just do our own thing and have at it.
Yeah, and I mean, I had like wanted to try to do co-op for a long time. I just kept like kind of back burnering it. And then we did another convention 2 weeks before PAX,
Hmm.
and so many people asked, "Is this co-op?" Because there's 2 characters. That I was just like, man, like every time somebody asks that, and we got to say, well, no, but like maybe it will be someday, but it's not right now. It's just like a total like I'd rather eat a shoe every time I had to say that. Um, and like I was just like, going to PAX, like people are expecting this enough that I gotta at least give it a shot and see like, and if it doesn't work out, I'd also rather be able to just flat say no, it's not, than to be like, well, we want to try that, but I don't know, So it was like we got to give this a shot and see, and I knew that if we were going to do it, I wanted to be able to say like yes to it by the time we got to PAX, because that other show we did was like a microcosm. It was like training for PAX, which was just an insane number of people, just a sea of people, and I'm like branching out into topics here, but yeah, it's like we use that to get ready, and I used that to decide like, yeah, I'm gonna try to put co-op in, and then I had concerns also like, when you're developing like this single player game, it just happens to have 2 characters. Is it really balanced if you start playing with a second person? And actually, like, it's sort of another aspect of like, I guess I can't say genius because it wasn't intentional, but luck that Nick had that idea about the hammers and the sickles and the bricks and the hay, because each character is unique and they're not able to do everything themselves. So it's not like you get 2 Contra guys instead of 1,
Hmm.
and you can just kind of blast your way through things. I mean, not that Contra was even unbalanced in co-op, but I'm just saying like, it's not like they're that interchangeable. They do different things. So
They're asymmetrical, and not
yeah,
only does each weapon break a different block type, but they also have different trajectories. So tactically, each one has advantages in different situations. It's really dynamic. Like
Yeah.
Nick's entire like set of features with the hammer and the sickle, I would say it's the core of what makes this game unique. And it makes it like this kind of hybrid between like Mega Man and your standard Mario platformer. It's really neither one of those. It's both. Because like you play Mega Man, you gotta like pick a different weapon for
Hmm.
a different boss, And with Marxist Twins, you've got to pick one of the tools of the people to take down the oppressive overlords or whatever. I don't know. Nick made it up. He could tell you what it is.
I, yeah, I mean, to Jimbo's point, the the topic of the trajectory of the weapons, I think it kind of like makes people cooperate a little bit more. Like for example, you have the you've got to get through certain puzzle like pieces of like hey, we want to unlock this thing. It's like, well, one person might start sprinting off screen, but you kind of have to like work together to kind of tackle some of these challenges. And and also the whole sprinting off a screen, like I when we first started doing the split screen, or not split screen, the two player, I was like, Eric, should we toy with the notion of split screen? Should we kind of like split it up or join it back together when they're on the same screen together, something like that? And I think where we kind of landed on that right now is I think just having one person in control of the camera at a time says, okay, you know what, you kind of have to work together, or you're both going to bite a bullet, So
Yeah, no, I think it works really well, even as a single player, because I was playing it by myself here, and it works really well with the switching of the characters and making sure that you use the right tool whenever you need to as well. It makes it a bit,
Jonas,
yeah,
sorry, I got a question for you.
shoot,
Did you notice that you can hit I'm talking PlayStation controller here. I'm sorry if you got Xbox. But if you hit the circle button, your character whistles and the other character throws the projectile.
I noticed
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right, just
I
making
think
sure.
circle's the same on both controllers too,
Oh,
right?
cool. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's
I
B
don't.
on
I don't play
Xbox.
Xbox.
Yeah, no,
I
I was like, wait, why is he whistling? And then, like a second later, a projectile comes around. I was like, wait, what just happened? Yeah, so yeah, I saw that and I thought that was really cool. But I really like switching up the other characters as well, because
Yeah, totally.
yeah, just having that option is super neat. And having the both characters, even when you're playing as a single player, you have both characters available to you. Is really I love that, and just having the second character jumping off over after you and catching up with you, and yeah, just super fun. So I know so we talked about it here. So let's dive into PAX a bit more. So you went to PAX. What was the reception like at PAX?
I would say PAX was. I think we knew we had something going on for us, but like we were just also kind of like at one point I expected like a bunch of lawyers with briefcases from Nintendo just be like shut it down like like so that was kind of one of the one of the worries I had, but it was very unfounded. What and then I would also say the other thing was that it despite COVID and whatnot and everybody like having a mask requirement, like I would say it was very packed.
Mhm.
And I uh, we did spend like we're a small team, so every dollar we spent was pretty considerable for us. But at the same time, I feel like you know, I can say for the team, we all felt pretty vindicated when we went there. Just there was a lot like there was very little vacancies in the seats. To try the game. We generated a lot of interest, and I would say that very first day when they opened the doors and you just see the crowds rushing by you to go sign up for something that isn't your game, you're like, oh man, what did we do? Like what have we done? This is going to be a slow PAX. And then all of a sudden people just started filtering in. It was like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, we've got something here. So yeah, that was my impression of PAX.
That must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah. Eric, Nick, you guys want to jump in there?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I was just worried that people weren't going to get the parody aspect, but it seems like I just saw all these people. They'd walk by, they'd stop, they'd read the name sometimes out loud. They'd say "Super Marxist Twins," and then they'd stop for a second, and then they'd just start cracking up. And it's like, all right, I think they get it. So that made me really that like killed a lot of my fears about the game.
Yeah, the number of double takes and stuff was like awesome. Like some people see the thing and they just get it like immediately get it. Some people, like Nick said, it like takes a second. There were definitely like people here like it's visual overload there, walking around a show floor like that. But there were some people like walk by and like look at your booth like did you actually see anything, like they're like just kind of taking it all in or whatever, and it's like it's like okay, that's cool, have fun, but yeah, the number of like the amount of the volume, I guess, of people that we showed to was just incredible. And nobody, I don't know that anybody would do this, but nobody was like, this is stupid, or like this is bad and I hate it, or anything like that. It's like it was just 100% positive. Except, I mean, there were a
There
couple
was
people like
there
there's a couple
was
people with
one
like a little bit of
person.
notes, but
There was one person who walked by and they were like "Super Marxist Twins." Yeah, okay, whatever. But at that point, I was so happy with the reaction that I was getting from everybody else. I just kind of shrugged it off like, yeah, whatever, fuck that guy. Um,
That guy's gonna listen to this broadcast. He'd be like, "No, fuck you, Nick."
Yeah, but you had some really nice visuals to draw people in, and I think having the characters be very visible, and having the title of the game being very visible as well is what pulled me in. I was like, I like this. This is funny. I like this. And then I saw it was a platformer. I'm like, I'm sold. I'm sold. And then you had a demo out. I'm like, yes, of course, I'll play the demo. So yeah, it's super cool. What was the what did you learn from PAX that you want to do differently next time, if anything?
Uh, yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
Do we want to give Sean like maybe 2 or 3 more days to work on the shirts next time? No. No. Yeah, Sean,
Yeah.
you go ahead because that was.
If you gave me 2 or 3 more days of work on the shirts, those shirts would have been done 2 or 3 more days later. So, some of it was a little bit procrastination, but it was more or less like I would. Yeah, we definitely turned my basement into something resembling that of a sweatshop. You know, there was the only semi forced labor was my girlfriend. The way she talks about it, she's like, I just spent my life in a basement, you know. But yeah, so a lot of what you saw at PAX that was homegrown. I would say
All of it
maybe
was.
yeah. Next time, it was definitely a lot of work. I mean, we sprinted from we were preparing for 2 shows. We did a show in Philly, before that, before PAX, and that was more like a trial show because we had never done a convention before, and I mean, I got to backpedal. I did conventions with my father, like when I was a kid. My dad sold comic books and horror movies at shows,
Oh, cool.
and I helped him run those tables. I think that was my like only experience I could really draw on to like really help me get into like what should we do to prepare for PAX. But I would say one of the things that I did to prepare to like learn from PAX was one we did the show in Philly. We had some growing pains there. And then also the other thing is, I went to like what seemed like a completely unrelated dog show, in like February or March or so. And I just kind of like walked around with my cell phone, just taking notes and saying like, okay, what's drawing people in
Hmm.
to these tables and what's not, like what works, what doesn't. And some of the things I saw that like wasn't really conducive to getting people to come in and try your things is like kind of like setting up that like table, like right at the front, and it's like, all right, this is our boundary, don't cross it. We'll come, sit across from you and talk to you if you want, but that's kind of like, so when we got these tables, I was like, how do we arrange these tables,
Hmm.
and put them in such a way that it's not a barrier, it's an invitation, for people to come in and say, hey, check out the game, and how do we draw people in instead of, our layout, even from the start, like repelling people. So look, I we I would say, you know, what we did take away from the game from it is that, you know, uh uh you're you can't solely rely on that, one show experience to kind of like, ride the wave of sales or wish lists. I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway from it was like, I wouldn't say we felt let down per se, but we were more or less just like, okay, we know we've got to do more to kind of, make this game more visible. I would also say that, we got a lot of people coming in and asking us, and this goes to Eric, like basically having to eat a DSW worth of shoes. like we had people coming in and just saying like, oh, are you guys on Switch? Are you on, Xbox? Do you have any plans to be on it? And it was that like, yeah, we got some plans. Well, we might be doing it. So that was, we're definitely considering that. But like after coming away from, PAX, we had to say, look, we definitely have interest. A lot of people, like you see a crowd of 100 people, and 80 of them are turning their heads at least at the game, and 70 of them are stopping, and 50 of them are actually getting in line to play the game. Like
If you build it, they will come.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So for us, I think it's more or less like, okay, we got to think about what are our next steps to increase the visibility of the game, and I think that's our biggest takeaway from PAX.
Yeah, it was a nice bump in all of whatever Villa's visibility metrics and things that you can talk about, but it wasn't really like a momentum after that. It was like a bump, and then it got to the other end of the bump, and then like there's slightly more. There's like a different pace of regular traffic. Well, I can see like the Steam page traffic and the wish lists and stuff, and there's like a slightly higher pace of those than before, but not like an enormous momentum or something. It's like it was a bump, and on the other end of it, like a few people per day more than it was before, which was also only a few people per day. So it might have doubled to like a few people per day, coming to the store and wishlisting or whatever it is. But yeah, that's sort of like Sean said. It was like, it proved to us that like the boulder can roll, but the boulder stopped rolling. So now we got to figure out where we're rolling it next.
Yeah.
And yeah, but also like we're finishing it, and we're kind of like taking the approach of because we decided to do early access. Like it's there. We are hopefully ever proving that we actually can make the thing and that we will get it done. And so, hopefully that just like builds slowly as it goes, and we just like bring it home. But yeah, that was kind of like similar to Sean, like kind of same takeaway from PAX for me. Like not really, it didn't really become like a huge momentum builder, but the reaction was so positive amongst like the visibility that we did get that it to me proved the concept. It proved it has legs, So
Yeah.
Concepts definitely got legs.
I would also just say, like, just observing the rest of the team, like, everybody just, they definitely felt vindicated. They felt like we had something, and they, I would say, like, Nick doesn't seem like the kind of guy that beams, but he was positively beaming at PAX. He was proud, and I was proud of him. I'm proud of you, bud.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You did a great job getting us in there.
Yeah, my joke earlier too was not to imply that there was any kind of procrastination. It was to imply that like we brutalized Sean by laying on him like the manufacture of all of everything for the show, which we also just bogarted his basement for it and just filled it up with the stuff.
Boxes
yeah.
and boxes of merch.
Yeah, so the things to do differently next time was really for me like we probably don't want to put Sean through that again. We probably want to just, if we're gonna do the merch thing, just find another way. Just do like the
Do it again. I'm buying a cry cut. I'm buying a cry cut machine on company dime next time. All right, so gonna get myself a shirt press, and we'll do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we hit that point of like, are we making a video game or are we a print shop? Because there was like prints and paper cutting everywhere. Sean went drunk on weird free ink programs from whatever HP. He was like, I'll print 60 copies and we're going to cut 3 of them because just in case we need more, I'm just going to print them because I got like unlimited ink right now through this program.
Oh yeah.
I-
Oh
Yeah, he found a loophole.
Unlimited
I'm
found-
not sure.
You found a,
Now-
a thrifty loophole.
Yeah, I'm normally a very green guy. I recycle. I do all that. And, and now I'm like, oh man, I'm slaying trees left and right. Printing, but
I
yeah.
mean, if free ink, I mean that you can become rich on that alone.
Ah, dude,
well-
why are we even in game dev for? Let's just do that.
Just do inks.
I think the thing is, it wasn't like free ink. I think it was like a low cost trial of the program, and we were like, well, we only need it for a trial period, really. We like the one and done sort of deal here, so
That's
let's
smart.
just do
You're
it.
giving away trade secrets here, man. You're giving away trade.
I don't think there's that many indie game devs that are also in the print shop business. So
You never know. You never know.
yeah,
Um,
if it works for us, there will be, but we haven't even established that yet. So
And I would say that was also one of my biggest concerns going in, and going into PAX was like, okay, one, I think I was always saying, it's better that we would be over prepared, and maybe we'll have some merch left over to do a Kickstarter campaign or something like that, And after the Philly show, like the Philly show we went to was more of it wasn't a game show. It was more about like comics and Star Trek and whatnot. And so after that, like people like it was interesting because the gamers that saw us, they stopped.
mhm.
And they were like, "Wow, I didn't know a video game was going to be here," and they're like, "What?" It blew their mind, and they're like, the devs were actually there too. So
I was at that one. I think my
Yeah.
favorite was the philosophy professor who
Yeah.
actually like had a dense discussion with Nick about Marxism. It was really funny.
Oh,
And
That
that's
guy was like that. I feel like that guy was like our exact, like most precise demographic. Like, we literally made the game for exactly that guy. It was just funny. Okay, he was
Yeah.
also like a Gen Xer, so like Mario Brothers is like that's like his teen years. It's like
Yeah.
exactly his like study and exactly his like game generation. It was just funny seeing all that
Yeah.
overlap.
in my nightmare, I think for like the reoccurring stress was we made over 1,000 pins, magnets, keychains. We made 100 shirts, 150 shirts or so, and we made all this swag, and we're like, okay, we didn't really sell a whole lot in Philly, and we're not really like moving a lot, and are we going to be like hauling all this stuff back from PAX? And I was like, oh man, like we're doing all this work, and but like I was like, all right, even 2 weeks after that Philly, that's when the PAX show was. I was like, even up until PAX, I was still doing more production. I was like, I'd rather just not be saying like, oh man, I wish we couldn't get more marketing material or pins or swag in the hands of people, or for people to remember our game when they walk out of there. That turned out also to be unfounded worry. We ended up getting rid of, like, we ended up either selling or through our promotional program, like handing out pins, all our keychains, all our magnets, all our pins. We sold like a vast, like I would say, what was it, like 77% or so of our shirts.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
That's just fantastic. I love seeing merch just flying off the tables.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I want to dive into a thing related to PAX, but we'll do that in a bit. So yeah, PAX seemed to be very successful for you all. I'm super happy to hear that you got that big bump, and then you also even if it's just a few, that's still a few more every day that wishlist the game, and that's what counts. So that's awesome to hear. I love that. There were so many fantastic games at PAX. I tried to play or at least talk to the devs of most of them there, but there were just so many, and I was exhausted after day two. I was like, I had a lot of fun, but I can't talk to everyone there. It's a big conference. It's definitely a big conference. It was the um, one of the first ones I've done since this whole pandemic started as well. So it was just super super fun to walk around and talk to everyone. And I'm an extrovert, and I was not able to network for like a few hours going into the conference. It was super super weird, and then after a while I got into it. I was like, okay, now I can do this, and that's when I talked to you all. Um, so yeah, super super cool. I want to dig into the game a bit more and how you built out the game. We've been seeing the protagonists here, Mikhail and Ludmil, and I want to dig into the enemies a bit. So I got these here, these capitalist pigs, as they are called. So is that how you got to this type of enemy?
Originally, I wanted to have more analogs for stuff that was in Mario Brothers, and I
Mm.
wanted to do something where the main bad guys were all going to be pigs wearing top hats and suits, and I wanted some kind of mechanic where you could stomp on their head, then they get stuck in their hat, and then you could pick the hat up and throw them. But
Ooh,
um, that just I couldn't think of any way to make that to work particularly well. So eventually, we decided to have a bunch of like different variants of mostly pigs. The main soldiers are all pigs, and they've got different roles. Like there's the bayonet piggy with the bolt action rifle, who's kind of tough to jump on.
I
There's
get
the
killed there by them all the time because I'm used to jumping on top of things, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'm dead.
yeah, they're kind of. I like to put them down in like low spots and
Hmm.
spots where the player has to jump to you know kind of give them an extra obstacle.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the rats are more symbolic of like kind of like Quislings. You know, they're the part of the
Oh,
people that have
yes.
like also like sided with the capitalist
They're
pigs. You know, so,
collaborators, pretty
yeah,
much.
collaborators. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just to pull Jimbo in because we had, you might have found in the stuff that I sent you, there was like a couple of older sort of concepts for this, and one time like we got together and or we when Jim was like joining on, we had him do like a sketch of like just kind of some loose concept stuff, and the sort of general shape of these pigs came out of that. But for a while, like I sort of took his sketch and like just did the crudest of pixel art over it, and so that it was like kind of shaped like how he sketched it. But uh,
I would say you like pretty much like traced it perfectly. The
Yeah.
colors were kind of like you're not an artist, but for a
yeah,
non-artist,
so
the colors were all right.
I
And
I I made like slightly informed programmer art out of his like just pencil sketch,
accurate.
and yeah, and then but what we're seeing up above here is Jim later then going through and detailing everything, and like personally I'm super stoked with how everything looks now.
Yeah, they're like the darkness in their eyes. That's just derivative of Metal Gear Solid because I love that game. Uh,
Mm.
it's like got like a really painterly style to it. Because when they were
Yeah.
making it, they wanted it to look photoreal, but the PlayStation 1 didn't have the graphical capacity. And I just carried that over to this because it's like cartoony anyway. And the
Yeah.
main thing Nick would always be saying is like these piggies, they gotta look mean and like,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
not pleasant. And I kept drawing them like pseudo Kirby. They were like cute looking. And I was just like,
Yeah.
well, shit. I gotta bring some grit into this.
Yeah.
So
And that's actually what I really like about these guys because I mean, it helps to one of the things that Nick wanted to do it was basically make a game that essentially seemed like the Soviets wanted a Soviet state sponsored team to develop a game, to like basically battle that of what was coming out of the West, at the time. And so like what you have here, like, and what I love in the artwork kind of like really works with that is that it's got that element of cutesy, like Jimbo was mentioning, but it also has that seriousness. Like the pigs, they all have that serious, like determined look. Like, all right, yeah, you are fighting a determined force, and we even had some kids who kind of like some kids that we got to talk to in Philadelphia, and like they were kind of getting into it. They're like, "Oh yeah, let's fight these capitalist pigs." I was getting nervous. I was like, "Oh man, we are subverting some youth here. Like this is nuts." like,
Good.
whoa.
My artwork subverted youth. Good.
Yeah, and it made me very nervous because we had like the army behind us, and they were like, they were very close to us, and they were like, they had like a shooter there that they were like,
Oh yeah, U.S. Army. They're like they had
we
like
got
a
these
like.
kids like go communism. I'm like, oh my god.
I thought that was awesome. I went to see what would happen. That was funny. It's like, what did you get us into, Nick?
I definitely think that you captured the essence of menacing here in the
Yeah.
face of the pig.
Yeah, I wasn't going for determined at all. It wasn't about being determined. It was about being like evil and sinister and
Mhm.
like what propaganda, the way
Yeah.
that propaganda would talk about an other, but it wasn't determined as much.
And
Right.
I would.
even the boots are shiny.
Yeah. Oh
right,
yeah.
right. So that's definitely a throw to like Mario. His boots have always got a little shine on them, at least in World and Up. Not 64 because they didn't have specularity in Nintendo 64, but
That and any military worth its salt is going to have some shiny boots. So there you go.
yeah. Well, that's not what I was thinking, but I guess you're right. Good coincidence.
So the enemy here, the main boss picture that you sent over as well. I'll show that here. I just love this. It's a really really obese pig.
Yeah, my main influence was Tony Soprano because I had just finished watching The Sopranos when I drew it, and me and Nick were just hanging out one day, and I just like did a little sketch in my book, and I was like, "This." He's like, "It's all right," and I did another one. He's like, "Yeah, that's it," and that's pretty much like how it happened. It's just like The Sopranos was just like in my unconscious mind, and it just kind of like poured onto the page.
What's
And
the? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jonas.
What's the device that he holds in his hand?
Yeah, that is a radio that he calls into when you're engaged in combat against this guy, and reinforcements parachute down from the ceiling, and they attack you. That's pretty much the gist. Did I leave anything out, Nick, or is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
So as I was playing through the demo, I think it's four stages or something like that in the demo. What's the intent of the span of the whole game?
You start out in the countryside. You make your way through the mountains, down the coast, into the the capital of the country, which is where the final world is going to be, like a industrial city area.
And we also got a little bit of a like in each world we kind of have like a Three Little Pigs type scenario going on, right? Where you're basically going in and you're Molotoving their, instead of blowing down their house, you're Molotoving down their house, and they're all running to the end of the world, and they're actually like congregating at the boss level, and so you actually see the pigs you chased out, the banker pigs we call them.
Mm-hmm.
You see them, and you actually face them, and they try to bribe you with coins, in the tower there, and don't take the coins because it's kind of game over for you when you get those coins. Not game over, but you get the gist. So
Game over, man.
So don't take money from the capitalist pigs.
Absolutely, don't accept their bribes.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, hey Jonas, you were saying that those bayonets they really got you, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're welcome. I designed that. Gotcha.
Yeah. No, they are horrendous, and it's like, oh, I need to. There was one. I love the checkpoint system. Thank you for implementing the checkpoint system. That is super helpful. There was
That was
one
Eric's doing.
there was one point where I was like, I'm constantly dying. And I don't know, because I just want to run through things fast and just explore as much as possible. I'm like, I can't move fast enough to avoid everything. And I was getting hit by bayonets and bullets all over the place. And I was like, okay, I need to take it slow. So I did that instead. And the checkpoints really helped in learning how the stages play out, instead of just dying at the same spot after playing through the beginning as well. So thank you for checkpoints. I love those.
And to just like give a number to your question, like what we're targeting is 4 worlds, and
Mhm.
the worlds each have 8 stages in them.
8 stages,
So
4 worlds.
Mhm.
Awesome. So that's 32 in total.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I'm really eager to play more because this is my jam. As I said, this is awesome.
Yeah, and just to mention, like that's 32 stages in the campaign, and then
Mhm.
we're hoping for community levels to be featured too, which is why like even on the campaign, just in case somebody missed it, we stuck a node on the world map as you're walking through that's a different color, hoping people will go over there and go, what is this? And then it just like randomly gives you some community stages to try out.
So I did actually try that out. What was it called again?
The Industrial Forge in the Common Good, was it, Eric?
Yeah, the Industrial Forge is what we call the level editor, and the Common Good is the community area. When
They're
you
in the
go,
same node.
yeah, when you
Yeah.
go from the main menu,
Mhm.
but on the world map, it's just like a level node, and the idea there was just like something to draw you towards that stuff, because otherwise it's under like extras in
Mhm.
the main menu, so some people might kind of miss that or not, not exactly notice it's there. But
Yeah. I went
it is like
over.
a big, yeah, it's like an important to us, an important part of the game. It's actually like, one of the core things that Nick wanted to do. I'm putting words in his mouth now, but that he wanted to do, like, with a design document, was like have this level editor and ability to share things. So
Like how Nick wanted to make this game when Eric told him to come up with an idea.
So I love having that random community level incorporated in the main map. It definitely speaks to how you view community as well, and not just adding things onto your game, but actually being a part of your game. I love that. Can you tell me a bit more about the community levels and the level editor and how that works?
yeah, Nick, do you want to?
No, go ahead.
So basically, so like I mentioned, it was part of the core design. Like we knew we wanted to do this, and it was self-reinforcing because I made a level editor, and then Nick used it to make levels, and you know that informed, like, Nick using it informed what it should be like and made it better. So you know in a way, it's kind of important that like we didn't just make our game and then put a level editor together. Like, the levels that you play through are made in that editor. They're not, we're not like cheating and using different tools or something. Um, so yeah, it sort of forced us to make sure that everything that we want to do can be done in there, and that it's not super painful to do it. It has a learning curve, but it's not, you know, over the years of Nick and Jim and a couple of other people using it, it's gotten a lot more polished and a lot easier to do whatever kind of you want within
Can I
the scope of what
interject?
you do. Yeah.
I'd say, to put it succinctly, it's a tool that has a lot of utility, and you can get a lot of things done with it really quickly and really efficiently. but you have to learn its quirks, and it doesn't have guardrails.
Hmm.
So like, if you have like a DIY spirit, you can get a lot done with it. Mario Maker's a little more round around the edges, and it's like safety, or it's got safeties on everything, you know, because it's made for the general public. What Eric built, you can cut yourself on it if you're not careful. But beyond that, it's got a lot of like. It lifts a lot. It does a lot of heavy lifting, really, like, you know, really efficiently. So
Yeah, and, this is also it's like, so this is like the third probably version of the game. Like we've kind of started over a couple of times,
Hmm.
and it's probably the second version of the level editor. So, you know, we've kind of had iteration to, you know, be able to get it to where it is now, where we think like it's pretty good. Like there are still things about, you know, the editor, the game, and of course because we're in early access, like it's not quite perfect yet, but we've iterated so much that, like, you know, we all feel pretty good about it. And you know, in a sense, like believe in it. Like that's like why we were willing to do things like go to the conventions and stuff. It's like we don't know anything about game marketing. None of us like do that. But we believe in the thing, and if we can get people to look at it and try it, like it'll speak for itself. And you know, so
Awesome.
yeah, Nick, I don't know if there's anything you want to say about like what it's like for you making.
Um, no, nothing I can really think of. It's just I think it's one of the core features of our game. That was one thing that I right off the bat wanted to make sure that we had in our game was like a simple level editor so that, we could hopefully build a community around it. That's about it.
How do you? What's your thought process when you build out a new level?
Usually just start with a blank screen and I build it kind of like screen by screen and kind of test it as I'm building it.
And you have these
Uh,
the themes as well within the different worlds.
yeah, usually the levels, they're mostly like nonsensical, kind of like in a Mario game, but I try to have some kind of real world location to kind of inspire and inform how I build a level. Um, but that's about the only pre-planning that goes into it. Like I'll decide, like, I don't know what to do. Let's make something that somewhat resembles a farm. Let's make something that somewhat resembles a vineyard or um but I've just found that if you try to plan too much, you wind up like kind of boxing yourself in. So I just try not to do too much planning ahead of time.
I love it. I love it. And so the level editor makes it easy for you to go back and fix things if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to use once you get the hang of it.
Awesome. I wanted to briefly, before we dive into some concept art and stuff like that, I wanted to briefly talk about the music within the game as well. So who came up with the music choice of the game?
I knew right off the bat that we wanted to do some kind of Soviet propaganda music. And yeah, I chose the Soviet anthem for like kind of like the main theme, and Eric, he chose the other music from a bunch of other Soviet propaganda stuff he found online.
Yeah. So while, you know, we've got team members with music background, none of us are like strong in music, you know, production. So or really like composing like large pieces or with, you know, lots of instruments. So really all of the music that's in there is you know, public domain stuff that I was able to find MIDI online. And what I say is I arranged it, you know, so I did like instrument samples that were like really really short in their length, so that they have to like repeat, and that's what gives it the kind of SNES sound. At least that's what I was kind of going for.
Mhm.
So it's not like a perfect representation, but it's kind of close to how music was done on SNES, with actual samples with a just like extremely short repeating musical instrument samples. And then so I created the samples and then arranged onto MIDI of public domain old marches and various like types of songs like that, and like Nick said, the Soviet anthem. With the idea, like, we would like to add more, and some original stuff might get composed in there eventually as well to like intermix with it. But yeah, that's not. I arranged it, but I'm not like claiming credit for composing it, because those are compositions by very very talented, mostly dead Soviet composers.
Is this a call out for someone join you as a musician?
Maybe.
All right. Let's dig into some concept art on how you put things pen to paper and things like that, and then we'll dive into PAX a little more. So we'll start off with this one here, I think.
Yeah, so when I started on this piece, it was definitely very early on, and I just wanted to create something to like capture a moment that wasn't necessarily gameplay, but was just more about like what the world was and like what immersion could feel like. And I would give a nod to a lot of the concept art in Donkey Kong Country 2,
Hmm.
because they took the 3D models for that game. I wouldn't call it concept art, but just like their bumper renders, if you will. They took their 3D models and they did like really high res renders of them, and I always like loved them. You never really see them, like they're not in the player's manual. You would only see them if you like had certain issues in Nintendo Power. But they were just really cool storytelling pieces, and they used like unique camera angles. So that's pretty much that's where this came from. It's just you go on Google, you type Donkey Kong Country 2 concept art, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. And this one. Um,
That's like a sketch from like the very beginning that I did, and then colored it in. And I'm not that talented of an artist, so yeah. There's a lot of very very crude art in this game for a long time, until we brought Jim in and gave everything a nice shine.
I will say there was an artist that you hired to do all the settings. I didn't do the environment art.
Oh yeah,
But
that's true.
the
That was just
character. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
want to take all the credit. But yeah, the character art. Yeah.
Yeah, like our world tiles, like the ground and the walls and stuff are,
Yeah.
we like contracted that out, but
But the art that was in the distant background, it was also art by that artist that Eric's talking about. But when I originally joined and I would play the game, what would happen is my eyes would get like really distracted because that background art was so highly detailed. But what I did is I said, hey, look at Super Mario World, right? That game has hills and they're pretty much solid color, and it's got mountains, also solid color, maybe like 3 or 4 tones, but it wasn't a lot of visual variety. Because when you're like playing the game, you've got all these soldier pigs and there's bullets flying and there's grenades, and that's already like visually it's like asking a lot of the player. They got a lot of different things to pay attention to. And so I didn't necessarily create all the backgrounds, but I was a bit of like a artistic director, just to take what the background had and tone it down so that when someone's playing the game, they're able to focus on the obstacles and navigate the game successfully. That's like a big part of game design that you wouldn't really think about unless you actually had a hand in it and succeeded at pulling off something like that.
Yeah, so even the things Jim didn't directly create, like basically everything we've leaned heavily on his, artistic eye for, like are things reading properly, and can you see what's happening, and is it distracting, and all the things, like you just said.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, like games have art. They aren't art. So if you put art in a game, it has to serve the game, or you're doing it wrong.
We have this really early sketch of Baron Van Oink. Is it?
Yeah. So
Baron
yeah,
von Oink, yeah.
that was me misinterpreting, I think, Nick's notes, because we have a guy in a plane who throws bombs, and we had flying pigs, and I think like I just like conflated them all into one thing, so I drew a guy with like wings throwing bombs and having like the flight helmet on or something. And again, there's it's like a little diagram on the side about the bombs, basically, like just to show that he throws them, they fall down, but they land because they've got legs, and then they start walking around. Uh, you know, kind of. We were calling them smart bombs.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing smart about them is like when they land, they'll start walking in the direction that the player's in. Um,
Yeah.
Otherwise,
They don't
they're not
hit the
that
ground and
smart.
explode. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then this one, bit of a level here, and we've got a radio tower. We've got a pig with a bayonet.
And it's a little bit more of my love for Metal Gear, just accidentally seeping into the art. Definitely like what that's all about. Yeah, barbed wire fence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like they were talking about the pigs being soldiers, and that might be like the first piece of art that had the bayonet in it.
Oh.
I can't
Yeah.
see what we're seeing. My screen is frozen.
Mm. It's one of Jim's sketches there where it's like it almost looks like a base, but there's like a radio tower on it. I don't know if you remember it, but that might
No.
be. Oh no, like Jim said, that might be the first one that had the bayonet. That might not be the one that like first used to fill the role in the
You're talking
in-game.
about the one that you traced?
Yeah,
The one that you traced is from that one where it's mellow or like zoomed up, but he's also like kind of bizarre looking because he's
yeah,
very
right.
inspired. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if that's in the list, I won't talk about it now, but I think I know which one
so.
you're talking about. Does it have like a signpost and a radish in it?
I believe so.
That's,
Let's see.
yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
This
not
one?
that
Yeah.
one. Not that one either, actually. But there's a few things to say about that one too. Like so in the artwork, there's like a few different stages to the bayonet pig in that picture. There's him just like an alert, and then there's him getting squished. And it didn't exactly end up in the game that way. But this art's definitely what led to the idea of like when you land and like step on them, what it looks like. Cause like a year, maybe 2 years ago, everything would just it would be like like just the stagnant pixel. Very
Flipped
like
upside
generic
down and
example.
then just like
Yeah,
fell off.
it was
Yeah.
Eric doing like the best he could, which wasn't bad. It communicated what was going on, but yeah, like being able to squish them. That came from this piece of art, I would say. It was like concept art lending to gameplay content.
All right. Let me see if I can find the other picture that we talked about. I think that's in the other concept art piece here. Let me see.
That's
This
the
one, I
one.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was like when I first heard about the idea. I hadn't really done anything for them yet, but they were telling me about it, and I was interested because I mean, when I first heard the like Marxist twins, my instinct was instantly like, "Wow, as far as creating something that grabs people's attention, that's gold. Like it's clever and it's funny. And so they were like, yeah, they gave me a physical description. He's got the Russian hat, he's got facial hair, overalls, capitalist pigs. And I took that and I pretty much fused it with John Kraslowski from like Ren and Stimpy.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty much the main influence. And I remember it was hilarious because I showed it to Nick and he's just like, Jimbo, that's hideous. Like this character is not like it's not supposed to be nightmarish to look at. And I was just like, oh yeah, all right, I'll reel it back. And we had an intermediate style at one point. It was, I would say, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a lot of downtime, so I busted out like a bunch of sprites for the player character. And they were like really like soft anime, like appealing looking characters. But it kind of seemed like they were too flat in a sense. So I wound up drawing a little bit from this at the end. Like the version that you see now, it's like 10% this picture at this point. And I would say like 30% Little Mario and Super Mario World, and then the rest of like whatever, I guess 60%. Yeah, that's just what the game needed, what the game called for. Yeah. Yeah, so it's
Fantastic.
like a little John K, a little 16-bit, you know. Yeah. It was a very organic process, and it involved a lot of debate over the course of several years to get the final design that we landed on. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like it definitely makes me think of the phrase "art through adversity."
Yeah, this one is back to the era of me literally sketching in a notebook. I think you could see the notebook lines
Mhm.
there.
I wasn't there yet.
Yeah. Which is again why this is so much worse looking.
I think it's lovely to see these, and of course the pig boss here.
Yeah,
I love that face.
yeah, I'm happy with the one we have, but I do still kind of like that. For me, like I'm gonna pretend like I was a good enough artist to like actually take some inspiration from something and say that like that's supposed to be or that's like inspired by maybe what's his last name? Old man, is it like Thompson or something from Beavis and Butthead who's just like wandering around the store?
It's got a very
But
it's got like a Dick
It-
Tracy vibe to it too, a
yeah,
little bit.
but he's obviously a lot, more menacing. He's a lot angrier and happier to be doing bad. But,
He does kind of look like crude Mike Judge art. That's maybe why I'm cracking up at it. Like it's like almost real, but not quite.
Flavor and buffet.
Is
yeah, I
this
think
the is this
this is the
first?
one that we sketched. Yeah, that was Jimbo's sketch that I traced and turned into that version of the character that was
In the
what
game.
it was what we had
It
for a couple of
looked-
years.
It looked like a clean version of this character. Like the proportions of the feet were more even than in my drawing. But otherwise it is like basically like the brother of this character, which I will say is very derivative of Monty Mole from Super Mario World. Like that
Ah.
character, it's just like a Kirby shaped lump with a face and feet. That's pretty much like the whole gist. And I just like slapped Soldier Pig onto that template. So, yeah,
I love it.
that's where it all comes from. Yeah.
I love it. Before we wrap up, I want to pull things back a bit to PAX. We've been talking about PAX and conferences in general a lot here, and just a few days ago, or very recently at least, you you announced that you're part of PAX Rising. So tell us more about what is PAX Rising and what are you going to do there?
So yeah, PAX. Well, PAX. To be clear, there was a PAX Rising sort of area of PAX East, and we weren't part of that. We just like bought our own booth and went to PAX, and we were, just did our own thing there. But then we got contacted by PAX, one of the I don't know, I guess sales or whatever it is, outreach people or whatever, and they put together, PAX Rising Online, which is next month. And so what's going to happen there is we cut together a 2-minute video that Gabe from Penny Arcade and I think it's Chris Straub, another. Well, I only know him as a webcomic artist. He's I'm not sure if he does more stuff than that, but he's also sort of associated with Penny Arcade somehow. They're going to be like watching these videos of the games and I guess offering their commentary. I'm not sure. It's about an hour and a half.
Oh,
So
awesome.
they're gonna watch. Yeah, they're gonna watch through the videos for all the games, and then there's like 2 schedules for Saturday and Sunday. And what it is like one side of things is a constant stream of games. So every half hour there's a different game that's got a video playing, like a let's play style with the devs. So we recorded a let's play, and we'll be hanging out on Discord, like text chatting with people while that's going on.
That's so cool.
And then, yeah, and the other part of the schedule is there's like roundtable discussions and various kinds of other events. I'll be taking part in one of those. I forget if it's on Sunday or something. But yeah, the main that's more like just discussion amongst developers about development, and for like actually showing it and promoting the game, it's going to be that video at the beginning plus our like half hour let's play.
That's
So yeah,
really cool. That's really
yeah,
cool.
we're hoping, and I guess they said there's going to be a Steam event or something for it. So we're hoping that that well, my big hope is that Steam puts that on the front of their page, because that's like the single biggest bump we got in wish lists was like while we were at PAX, our game was listed in the Steam event for PAX East. So there were so many games at PAX East that like sometimes I went to that Steam event and I had to like scroll to the bottom and say load more, scroll down, load more, scroll down, load more, and then I found our game on there. But it was random, so sometimes we would come up closer to the top or whatever. But with PAX Rising, there's not as many games, so hopefully if they do a Steam thing and they put it on the page, we're behind only like 1 click of load more this time, and yeah, maybe we'll get some visibility out of that. So, and actually hoping, well, not hoping, will by then, because it's a month away, to actually have an update for the demo, because as we've been going in early access, we've kept improving the game and putting more into it, and the demo is some months behind. I think it might have last been built in February. Oh, maybe it was April. Well, no,
about when you released it?
the demo that you can get on Steam is actually different than what we were demoing at PAX. So, yeah. Hoping to put an update out to the demo and stuff too, to coincide with that. So, it'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'll be there checking everything out and see the let's play as well. That's going to be super fun.
And I think that's because it's like an online thing. That's like free for anybody to attend, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I do too, because that means the most possible people.
For sure. So this has been a fantastic time with you all. We have to wrap up, otherwise our listeners are gonna go do something else. This has been super fun talking to you all. Please let us know if you have any shout outs, first of all, to someone, or if you have any shout outs to someone, and also where we can find you online. We'll start with Eric.
You can find us on Steam. Super Marxist Twins. I'm on Twitter at type3_Vesima. I'm not a super effective Twitter user, but I'm there. And we got a Discord also, which you can find linked from our Steam page or our website. It's all, everything links together back and forth every which way. So find us somewhere and you'll find us everywhere.
Awesome. Sean.
Sean, you're muted.
Awesome. The big guy that Nick chased off the camera there was his brother Rick. He actually did a lot of work to help us get some of the shirts produced. So I want to thank him for his help there. And I also wanted to do a shout out to Lena. We met Lena at PAX. We actually met a lot of excellent, interested people, and we decided to actually touch base with Lena. And so some of the work you actually see here, like the jetpack pig, the work she did some work on that. So wanted to say, hey Lena, and thank you.
Awesome. Do you want to share where people can find you online, or is it just the Discord?
Eric, do you want to do that, or Nick, or Jim?
I mentioned it. I mean, he's talking to you specifically, I think.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sean does not want to be found online. He would
I don't
prefer
want-
you leave. He would prefer you leave him alone. Actually,
Perfectly fine.
I live in a
Perfectly
basement. No, no. I used to live in the basement. That's where I was doing the work. But yes, I do not want to be found. Thank you.
Fine. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Jim.
same here. I would rather not be found online. Go on, Jim.
I cannot be found online, for I have no internet presence.
you see
Yeah.
how great it is to try to get attention. It's like me, like introverted programmer. Like, please pay attention to the thing.
I would say I've been like focused so much on just helping make art and helping promote like the production of the game itself. I haven't spent any time developing any kind of an internet presence other than like occasionally talking on the Discord. I would say like of all the things we have, the Discord's really the one to focus on. That's like where we have like the most sense of community. I have nothing else to add.
Fantastic.
All right, yeah, as I said, I prefer not to be found online. Not much of a presence. And if I'm going to give a shout out, I'll give a shout out to Eric's wife for letting us borrow her husband for game dev stuff.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all. My name is Jonas Rosland. You can find me online everywhere at Jonas Rosland, and you can check us out at
Right.
Yes, you can check us out at hitsave.org as usual as well. Thank you again, Eric, Sean, Jim, and Nick. This has been fantastic. I really, really appreciate it talking to you all, and I can't wait to see what comes next for the game. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you.
Thanks,
Nick.
Jonas.